Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. Later in the show, Natasha chats with Natasha John, co-owner of Skoden Coffee, a Dene-owned coffee shop located in Window Rock, Arizona. But right now, Susan Levy talks with Dr. Erik Brodt about the Oregon Health and Science University's Northwest Native American Center of Excellence.
I'm Susan Levy, and on the phone with us today is Dr. Erik Brodt, MD, family medicine physician. He's an associate professor of family medicine and an assistant dean for the Native American Health in Oregon Health and Science University's School of Medicine, and he's the founding director of the Northwest Native American Center of Excellence at Oregon Health and Science University. Wow, that's a mouthful. Hello, Dr. Brodt. It's an honor to have you on our show today.
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me to speak with you today.
Well, we're super excited to have you here and learn more. Before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Erik Brodt, and I am from the Great Lakes region. I am a father of two children and a husband to an amazing woman. And I have the great pleasure of serving American and Alaska Native youth who aspire to become health professionals and the future health leaders of tomorrow through the Northwest Native American Center of Excellence here at Oregon Health and Science University's Northwest Native American Center of Excellence at the School of Medicine.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff that you do. And congratulations on the babies and your family and everything else.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's start with the basics. Please tell us about Oregon's Health and Science University's Northwest Native American Center of Excellence. What is that?
So the Northwest Native American Center of Excellence is the only American Indian Alaska Native specific HRSA Center of Excellence in the country. And we work to recruit, train, and retain American Indians and Alaska Natives in medicine and dentistry now, because we just got renewed in the federal grant for this next cycle to expand with dentistry. And we've got a comprehensive model and a center here that is built in partnership with the Northwest Portland Area Indian Health Board, which is owned and operated by the 43 federally recognized tribes of Washington, Idaho, and Oregon, as well as partnership within the OHSU School of Medicine, as well as the OHSU School of Dentistry. There's a number of other community organizations that we do partner with, but the primary PIs and or groups involved are the OHSU School of Medicine, myself, OHSU School of Dentistry, and the Northwest Portland Area Health Board and their dental therapy initiative. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. It was started in 2017 after coming to being recruited to OHSU in 2015. And we just got here and took a look around to see what was possible. And there had been work that had been done for the better part of 3 or 4 decades through some previous leaders that just made this moment possible, reaching out to the leaders of the tribes and asking them if they would be interested in doing something like this. Eventually, we had a discussion that determined, yes, that the tribes were interested in an initiative to train more American and Alaska Natives to become health professionals in this region, and then went to our school's leadership and got the okay to try and develop and build a center here. And our first grant was awarded in 2017, and we've been moving forward with lots of different partnerships and funding since that date to grow our programs in the region. So that's us in a nutshell. And it's really fun to think about who we are too, because I think a lot of times people want more the quantitative type statistics, but we're a very place-based and relational leadership style center, and we have a lateral hierarchy at the leadership. So I'm technically the director on paper, but we also have a very strong group of American Indian leaders who help lead with me. So Caitlin Donald is the assistant director and citizen of the Osage Nation and descendant of the Ponca Nation. And then we also have Dr. Allison Empey, citizen of the Grand Ronde Nation, Dr. Amanda Briegel, citizen of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin, and Dr. Katie Martin, who is a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, where all 5 of us are these we're leaders in our own right within our institution. And I feel very lucky that there's 5 American Indian people who are in this leadership role with me here at OHSU to lead the Northwest Native American Center of Excellence. And then we predominantly have an American Indian team as well. And we have team members all across the 3 different partners that I previously mentioned. That's kind of us in a nutshell.
And I think I forgot to ask, are you affiliated with the tribe?
I'm Ojibwe
from
northern Minnesota.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yep. So I'm Ojibwe and Scandinavian. So I describe myself as a Anishinaabe, which is kind of like Anishinaabe and Norwegian, Scandinavian.
So give me a brief overview of your programs, because I really want to know more about your programs, but also your recruiting efforts and then training tomorrow's leaders.
How specific do you want me to get here? Broad brushstrokes? Super specific?
Broad brushstrokes, because we don't have a ton of time.
Okay.
And I think that the recruiting
the
efforts
problem.
and getting youth interested in medicine or in health professions is really important.
Okay. So in the United States of America, since 1980, the federal government has invested billions, with a B, of dollars in health workforce development and diversifying the U.S. health workforce. And this has made zero difference for American Indians, Alaska Natives. So all this money has been pumped into programs that potentially have not been led by or been completely inclusive of American and Alaska Native leaders, thoughts, ideas, curriculum, and our communities have not seen the same benefit that other communities have seen. It's time to change that. And so we see a tremendous amount of talent and leadership potential and skills and strengths in tribal youth in the communities. In fact, we have, I don't think, 4 affirmations that we lead with, right? American and Alaska Native youth, they are curious and knowledgeable. American and Alaska Native youth, they are interested and they make good scientists. American and Alaska Natives will make good health professionals and good applicants to health professional schools. And American and Alaska Natives are the future health leaders of tomorrow. So unfortunately, I've heard the opposite said in too many academic situations before, and I know them not to be true. And so we use those affirmations and that strengths-based mentality to lead every aspect of our programming. What we've done is we've utilized story and data to come up with 5 key moments in the circle or in the path to becoming a health professional or staying in the career as a health professional, right? So we've got like pre-college work or middle school and high school work where we really focus on identity formation, okay? Showing American and Alaska Native youth who they could eventually be and fostering their interest in like service and caring and health careers through the stories of American Indians and Alaska Natives who have been successful in those careers. We partner with an organization called We Are Healers. We make really compelling videos, and we have a curriculum that shows American and Alaska Native youth who they can become one day. Next, we have developed programming that helps students achieve their first 54 credits in college. So data from decades shows us that if you're American and Alaska Native that gets 54 college credits, you're just as likely to graduate as anybody else. It's just getting to those first 54 credits that's hard. So we have health pathway coaches and career and advising coaches that work with students individually through novel ways. Text mentoring actually has become a tremendous asset and resource for us, where we're able to connect with hundreds of American and Alaska Native youth all across this country on their cell phones through SMS text, okay? Students may not have high-speed internet in their communities. They may not even have internet, and they may not have data plans, but almost every community has SMS plans, and so we do a lot of informational coaching and communications through that what we call health pathway coaching through texting and SMS communications. Then we realized that there was a real significant fracture, like a terminal fracture in American and Alaska Natives entering medical school in this country. So we looked at 22 years of Association of American Medical Colleges data. And what we found was that almost 45% of American Indians and Alaska Natives who apply to medical school once will not get in and never apply again. And this is completely different from every other race and ethnicity. Every other race and ethnicity will apply 2 or 3 times before deciding never to apply again. And so here we have American Indians and Alaska Natives who happen to be the least represented in the U.S. medical student body and U.S. medical workforce, who had graduated high school, graduated college with pre-med coursework under their belt, taken the MCAT, applied to medical school, applied once, didn't get accepted, and drifted away from the pathway. This is, to me, a terminal fracture in the pathway. And so we built the Y-East pathway, which is a novel pathway, which is 10 months long. It's really rigorous, and it's designed specifically for American Indian last names who apply to medical school, were not successful. And if they complete the pathway successfully and attain an MCAT score above a threshold, they earn a spot in one of the 3 partner medical schools that we work with. Tuition free, they get a living stipend, and it's been a game changer for us and for our region. Then we also have programming for medical students, medical residents, as well as faculty here at OHSU. And so when I talk about a multi-pronged approach, like, we truly are being comprehensive. And this isn't like 2 or 3 people sitting in an office doing this work. Like, we are a pretty large group across Oregon Health Science University, across the Northwest Portland Area Health Board, across tribal communities where we have people hired and working on these initiatives, as well as through the Northwest Portland Area Health Board's dental therapy initiative and the School of Dentistry. So there's actually quite a few people who work with us. And even 2 other medical schools, Washington State University and UC Davis School of Medicine, we have partnerships and we help support people who work in both those locations as well. That's about as broad brushstrokes as I can get. Most centers of excellence like this, they're maybe a director with a program manager, 1 or 2, if they're lucky, program coordinators, but we've got five directors that all have more FTE than the average director at any center in the country that tries to do similar stuff, right? So the scope and scale of what we're doing is much, much larger.
Let's go back for a second. So I think what you're doing is really innovative, and I like all of the programs that you're doing. But a couple things really stuck out with me is that, one, the SMS messaging to individuals, and you called it the pathway coaching, super important. Yeah. I work with a lot of youth here in Phoenix, and we often hear that I think they're not sure the path to take or how to get to medical school. Anybody's interested, and kind of some guidance. So I think that's amazing that you do that. I also think the statistic that you talked about for individuals that apply for medical school that never reapply, that don't get in, and I think the work that you're doing is very critical. And I'm shocked. I'm just shocked. I don't know why there's not the support for those individuals that have applied to medical school to reapply and to help them do whatever they need to do to get accepted the second time around. I know a lot of people often don't get in the first time. So
right.
Wow. Shocking. And I think you guys are doing some really great stuff. So I think
and I think that's the importance of like story and data too, right? So like we hear from communities that there's all these kids that are talented. We hear that there's like people who've applied to medical school for, and they were right on the cusp and just didn't get in. And then we look at the data and we're like, oh, this is the data for that. Here's the story from the community for that. What is a program that we can develop that's actually going to fix that challenge? And that's kind of what we've tried to do at those 5 different moments I talked about, with like high school and middle school, with kind of college stuff, with the post-bac program, with medical trainees, right? And then also with faculty. So it's like the same thing. We've used the same methods at each one of those moments to try and make a difference.
I want to go back and ask, when you're up in Oregon, is the program there only open to individuals in either Oregon or the Pacific Northwest, or is your program available for anybody,
national.
Any indigenous, anybody nationally?
National.
And do you have to have like a tribal ID or certificate of Indian blood, or is it self-identify?
So it depends. So for the Y-East pathway, you have to be a citizen or a descendant of a federally recognized tribe. And this is challenging for our area because the termination era, the termination acts, right, of the 1950s and 1960s, this was like ground zero for that, right? So there are still some tribes here who were terminated who are still fighting to regain their federal recognition. We recognize that's a problem. But for the Y-East pathway, as it stands right now, you must be a citizen or a descendant of a federally recognized tribe. Okay. For some of the other programs, we do exactly what the school or what the AAMC does. for medical school, like for admissions and everything, it is self-identification. But for the YEAS pathway, you must be a citizen or descendant of a federally recognized tribe. We realize that's not perfect, and it's what we do right now. And it's national. So we've had people. So you're in Phoenix, Arizona, right?
Right.
I think 20 to 25% of people who have come through our program were rejected by either University of Arizona or University of New Mexico and have come through our program. So
and they
we have
finished
a very
it.
strong presence.
I hope they got in and finished the program.
Who come from. Say that one more time.
Did they? So they got. You said 25%. Did they get in and did they complete medical school?
So they get in, and then right now we're so young that we have our first graduating class right now.
Okay.
And I'll say that one person who is graduating in that class from our first little cohort, which was very small, is from the Southwest,
Yay.
and we're very proud of that person.
That's awesome.
And yes, they I can't say much more, but yeah, like one person is from your area, and then one person is from one of the tribes here. We're tremendously proud of them.
That's a great statistic. So I hope they come back to Arizona or the Southwest.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It depends where they go to residency, right?
Right.
That's kind of what determines where they eventually practice.
Well, hopefully in the Southwest.
Well, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of people that are from the Pueblos in New Mexico. We've got a whole bunch of students who are Navajo from both Arizona and or New Mexico. It's a very large part of our student body here.
And so which cohort are you in now? Like you're graduating,
We're
you said your first
graduating
cohort.
The fifth cohort
fifth.
of the post-bac pathway. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so the cohort one had five scholars that matriculated, one and took on some additional like research training because there were all these different pathways in our school, and two are graduating this year. And we're very excited about that. And what's been really fun, and I don't know if you saw this, but the Lund report came out a few weeks ago, and I didn't even know that OHSU had the highest concentration of American Indian Alaska Native medical students in the country. But I came across my Google News ticker, and I was like, wait, what? Where did this come from? And I had to like contact the AAMC to just be like, is this legit? And they're like, yeah. And then they were using all AAMC data. So it's something like 5 or 5.9% of our total student body at OHSU is American Indian.
That's great.
It's really fun. Yeah, and
That's
so like
awesome.
being a large academic health center, not like a regional medical school or something like that, but like a large academic health center, over 5% of our student body is American Indian. And as this class graduates and as we keep bringing in more, we've been bringing in almost 10% of our class every year for the past 2-3 years. It's been American Indian Alaska Native. That's a seismic shift when you look at a class.
So I want to ask you, I think, and I want to make sure I understood this correctly. Did you say that the tuition is covered?
For the YEAS pathway,
okay,
there is no tuition. We do not charge for a post-bac pathway, and we provide a living stipend. Now, in medical school, once people matriculate, then people do pay tuition. Most post-bac pathways are very, very, very expensive and are a big barrier for American Indian Alaska Native people. So yeah, ours is tuition-free, and we actually provide a living stipend.
Okay. So do you have a favorite success story?
There are so many favorite success stories that it's hard to choose. But in the moment that you ask this, I think of one person, and I'm not going to say his name, but it's a gentleman who applied. He heard about our pathway and our programs through an organization called We're Healers. He got connected with us. He started doing the pathway coaching like really early on, applied, and then during his interview for the YEAS pathway, I got to interview him. And he's from a really rural, remote tribe in Oregon, and he grew up very much immersed in his culture. And he broke down sobbing during his interview because he had never seen an American Indian male doctor ever before in his life. He didn't even know that it was possible and could exist. And just like hearing the gratitude in his voice around just that moment of like how meaningful that was to him. And then to see him enter the program and to have this like wind in his sails, knowing that he's lifted up not only by his peers, but also by the Native staff and then the Native faculty and then the larger faculty and then the communities, so that he can go and achieve his dreams without us setting the course for what he is supposed to do, right? I think too often there's a narrative where American Indian Alaska Natives are told, we will let you into school only if you go back and serve your community, right? We identify talent that is American Indian Alaska Native, and we try to help them live into the greatest of their potential. And this student has taken off and become a leader in their class. They become a national leader in organizations. They've been featured as like an influencer through tribal youth suicide prevention outwork initiatives, like truly amazing. And it was like all the talent in the world existed right there. Nobody else saw it. In fact, that in college, somebody told them that they couldn't do it and they shouldn't even consider it. All the talent in the world was right in front of them, and they missed it because they didn't know how to ask the right questions, or what they thought was the question that needed to be asked was wrong. And so now this student is thriving, and he's bringing others along with him, and he's like an inspiration to literally thousands of American Indian Alaska Native youth across this country, because we simply opened a door for him, and he had the courage and the strength and the fortitude, not just to walk, but to run right through it. That is a story of success, and I get to see that story of success over and over and over, whether they're from a pueblo in New Mexico, whether from the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona, or whether they're from Flagstaff, Arizona. I get to see people that other people don't think they have what it takes because those folks who are evaluating them are blind. And it makes me so happy to see that I can tell this story about so many people that we touch through our work here. That is the story of success. And the thing is, it's not an isolated story, you guys. There are so many talented Native youth out there that have this exact same story, and we're simply trying to open the door and provide them opportunities. It's not like we're this amazing center. All we do, maybe this isn't small, but we believe, we really do. We believe in the power of Native youth and their potential, and we do whatever it takes to try and help them achieve it.
I love your success story. But I do want to ask, in Phoenix, we get a lot of volunteers. They come here, they're in high school, and college, undergrad, and grad school, and many of them, or most of them, are thinking they want to go to med school. What advice would you have for them? So let's say our high school students, what should they do so they get on this pathway for medical school or healthcare professionals?
Find people that believe in you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people who believed in me. I didn't even know I had this in me. Somebody else saw something in me. Find mentors early and often and realize that they want to help you. And they're out there. Sometimes it's just having the courage to put yourself out there and ask. Because there are so many people that want to see you succeed.
Good answer. I think that's true. I think often, at least the students I work with, are hesitant to ask. And one of the very first things I say to them is, come in, get some volunteer experience, do an internship, whatever it might be, and then let us help you write the letter, for medical school or for your application and for MCATs and see how we can support you. I just think it's really important, and I don't think that happens often enough.
There's a very isolated cultural enclave community that we work with here in Oregon. And we piloted a high school program there. And I quipped in one of the evaluation things as we were sitting around, as one of the elders from the community was there. I said, this guy had all the talent in the world. I don't know if we did anything. I think all we did for him was buy him gas, and it got him to where he needed to be, and he's going to be successful. And the elder, elders fold their arms under, their hands underneath their armpits and lean back a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? That elder, she did that, and she leaned back and she goes, "No, you didn't just buy him gas. You believed in him. And you might have been one of the first people that's ever really believed in him in his life." And I didn't know where that guy came from in his home life or whatever, but that elder did. And just hearing that from that community member, just the power of starting out with the strength that we have the belief in these students that they have skills and potential and gifts and talents, as opposed to starting out with the antithesis or the negative of that immediately. Like, I've probably learned just as much about doing center work here and directing this center as the students have learned. Like, it's been life-changing.
And finally, how can our listeners find more information about Oregon's Health and Science University's Northwest Native American Center for Excellence, and how can they contact you?
If you want to reach out to us, the best way to get a hold of us is through our website. It's nnACOE.org. And if you're someone who's an aspiring health professional or know somebody who you think would be a good health professional one day, there's a contact us button. And our team of outreach and recruitment and communications folks will help triage whoever reaches out through that. And then if there's other folks who are listening today who believe that training American and Alaska Natives in health professions is important to them and want to support our cause, what we're doing, there's another button on there for people to donate to help us continue this work across the country.
You've inspired me today, and I hope people listen to this, think about this, know somebody or themselves, and definitely get in contact with you and learn more about your program. It's been truly a pleasure and an honor to speak with you, and I know you're changing lives out there, so great job.
Thank you.
Coming up, Lanasha Puati chats with Natasha John, co-owner of Skoden Coffee. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 2423 West Dunlap Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm host Lanasha Puati. Skoden Coffee is a Diné-owned coffee shop located at the Chihotso Indian Marketplace in Window Rock, Arizona. On the phone with me is co-owner Natasha John. Hello, Natasha, and welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And let's kick things off with an introduction of yourself and your story.
My name is Natasha John. I was born in Shiprock, New Mexico. When I was about first and second grade, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Unfortunately, my family couldn't find work on the res, so we had to move here. And I've been living here, I would say, for like the last 20 years. And then for the last 10 years, I was traveling all over the place. I was living in Germany, where I met my partner, Sabrina. And after that, I moved to Los Angeles. I worked for a small tech company called Snapchat. And then came across Daniel once again. We reunited over at the Santa Fe Indian Market, and we hadn't talked in about 10 years. And that's when he had approached me about this opportunity, about purchasing this Skoden coffee from a friend of his. And I've always wanted to return to the reservation and use all of my experience and my travels to just go back and give back to my community, because I've missed it for so long. I co-own a business with my family in Phoenix as well. It's called Red Mountain Overhead Doors, and I also have a queer art platform called Popular Among the Strange, which is strictly, for the time being, on Instagram.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. How do you juggle everything?
I would say a lot of, advice from my family, specifically from my partner, Sabrina. I think I'm one of those people that kind of is a little bit hard-headed, and it takes me a while to learn to adapt certain things into my life. And one thing that I learned to keep is a notebook. So I know my partner's been telling me to do that for a very long time, to keep all my thoughts and things organized. And I think now that I've acquired Skoden coffee, it's incredibly helpful. And I would say exercise definitely really keeps me and my mind balanced. And I guess a lot of great relationships with people, like I said, especially with my family and, of course, my friends.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Natasha, can you tell us more about Skoden coffee?
Skoden Coffee is a new business that we purchased 6 months ago, myself and my co-partner, Daniel Tooley. And Skoden is a place for everybody. You know, I'm very privileged to have been able to see a lot of the world, and especially with my partner. And I remember during the pandemic, we traveled extensively through Mexico. And I saw, I think we just kind of lived in and out of cafes while we were working there remotely. And I remember how, pretentious a lot of cafes can be. And I always told myself that I didn't want to be that cafe. I wanted to be the cafe that would be for everybody. And especially for my community. We try to also bring something new to the reservation, because we're from the Navajo Nation. We specialize in, offering healthy-ish type foods. What may seem very standard in the city, it's very uncommon out on the reservation. It's very well known that the reservation, specifically the Navajo Nation, is a food desert. So we offer things like ginger shots, avocado toast, and gluten. We're starting to add more gluten-free and diabetic-friendly offerings to our community members, just to be, like I said, a little bit more healthy, on the healthier side, and to, ultimately diversify the food selection that is out on the reservation. So the menu started out with coffees and teas, and eventually our signature is our mini blue corn donuts, which people really know us well for. If you go to the shop, it's a very small space. It's about 450 square feet. And I think the inspiration for that is definitely the travels that my partner and I have done throughout our relationship. She has had a lot to do, and I really thank her for a lot of the aesthetic of Skoden. I think it's really a place where I always envisioned, it's a safe space that I always envisioned having for myself and for her, especially considering that we're both queer and we're both women. And I guess it's, in a nutshell, I would say it's kind of a punky DIY sort of, but familiar space. So, like I said, it's a collection of moments and memories with my partner and our travels together, but also collection of moments and memories of me growing up, and going back to the reservation every summer was very important to my mother, because she wanted us to stay connected to our family. So every summer, even though we were living in Phoenix, she would have us go back, and I enjoyed it. It was the best time of my life, going back and visiting my elders, specifically my grandma, who would take care of us. And it's just, like I said, a lot of familiar spaces growing up, mixed-matched furniture that didn't really make sense, but it was so beautiful. And so if you ever get a chance and opportunity to go in, you'll see that it's very, curated, but not. And that's what I loved about a lot of these spaces that I, remember growing up, especially on the reservation.
That sounds like it's a really beautiful, unique place, and it sounds like you transformed it to be very inviting, and I can't wait to see that environment that you guys created and going through all of your memories that you experienced togeter. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it. It's a very cozy space, and that's exactly what we wanted. We've been to some cafes. Like I said, we're very privileged to have been to some of the very, very expensive cafes that seem a little bit cold and uninviting. And we also always want to practice this idea of affordability. So I know when we launched our matcha drink recently, we met my partner, because she's Japanese. She assisted us in coming up with the matcha drink. And with that came this idea that she had of doing a pop-up. And we served Japanese bento boxes. And with that, it was pay whatever you can afford. And so I think that's definitely one thing that we want to move forward with, is just assuring that we are accessible to our elders and to our community at large.
Oh, yes, definitely. And speaking about your products, I know you mentioned the matcha that you guys had just launched recently. Do you have any indigenous or local food items? I believe you said one of your popular items was the blue corn donuts.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we're learning and we want to incorporate more, is a locavore diet. Like, what did we eat and what did our ancestors eat? And I know one big staple in our diet is blue corn, which I believe was originally harvested by the Hopi. And I think we've adapted it as Navajo people into our diet. I might be wrong about this, but I thought I had read about this before. But blue corn, definitely. So that's one thing. Our matcha is actually infused with dene tea, which I don't remember the exact name of the flower or that it is, that dene tea is, but that is also something that grows plentifully on the Navajo Nation that we've adapted into our diet as well. I think we use avocado toast because it's really rich in omega-3, I believe, and it's a good fat. And it's also indigenous to the Americas. Of course, it's not indigenous to the Navajo Nation, but I think we also really think about what we're putting into our bodies and what we're putting out as a product as well. The bento boxes, my partner, she talked briefly about the history as well, and I think that's something that we want to continue doing in the future. She talked about the history of matcha, and it did not originate from Japan, but it originated from China. And I really like that idea that she gave us, and so I think we want to adapt that too. So moving forward into the warmer months, I think we definitely want to launch a few summer drinks as well, and maybe even summer foods. I know salads was one thing that we wanted to incorporate as well, but definitely want to also work with the nutritionist to see what we can do to really inform others of what we're putting into our bodies as well. I mean, we just did that in our stories, that I think eventually we would love to put that on our menu somewhere, some sort of infographic of food, and sharing exactly what the benefits are and what the history of it is.
Oh yeah, that would be a definite great resource for the community to read and also just to have. Natasha, what is the most popular drink that you guys have to offer at Skoden Coffee?
I think of recently, I would say it's a tie between, it used to be our colchata, but now I would say it's definitely the dene matcha and just the straight Navajo tea. We've had people come into the shop recently and, have come like far. The Navajo Nation is quite large. And we've had people come from all across the Navajo Nation. And I think maybe a person or two came in recently and they had said, I heard about your famous Bene Matcha and we wanted to try it. And that's always so rewarding for us to, if anybody has heard of us. And it's even more rewarding that I come to Phoenix where I am now because we had a pop-up this last weekend. And I go into a lot of these, especially native-centered spaces, and everybody's heard of us. So it's really incredible.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. I bet it is really rewarding just seeing the impact that you guys have on the Navajo Nation community and the community overall. I know you just mentioned that you'll be launching some new drink or food items for the summer. Is there a little sneak peek items that you can give us or anything that we can look forward to this summer?
Well, we actually launched this at our pop-up. We did a native YouTube gala this last Friday, and we were invited by a YouTuber named Lil Rezi times 3, Lil Rezi family of 3, and he's a relative of Daniel's, and we were very fortunate that him and his family invited us to that event, and they actually extended it to us next year too. So we're super excited about that. My partner, she actually came up with a hibiscus lemonade. And I think that was, the color, of course, is so, it's so rich, and the taste, and that's using our honey lavender syrup. So I would say that's probably one menu item that we haven't launched officially, but we definitely will put it onto our summer menu. And, of course, like I said, we are really considering putting salads and working with some local growers out in the Navajo Nation to develop some salads for everybody.
Oh, wow. Those sound all so delicious. And speaking about your products that you offer with Skoden coffee, how do you come up with the recipes?
So Daniel and I, and now my partner Sabrina, who has helped us out a little bit, she's volunteering her time with us, which is we really appreciate. Daniel and I started this thing called Skoden Test Kitchen, where we literally just, after hours, especially when we first opened, would just go out and just try everything. And I remember a piece of advice that one of his friends gave us was to just go and do it. Don't even question it, but just try it. And it's all about trial and error, of course. So I think that was one thing that we were doing pretty regularly in the beginning to try to come up with some new menu items. I think it's just a culmination of all of our travels as well and things that we like. Avocado toast and those flavors came from me going through Mexico and eating a lot of, spicier foods and just some of the ingredients that we came across there. And also, they're like foods that I would make for my family and for my partner. Like I said, ginger shots. That's also another thing that we put on the menu. That's also infused with our Zinnan tea. I just would make these for loved ones because I'm quite shy about my food and what I put, what I cook for people, and the very limited things that I can. And I think for Daniel, unfortunately, I can't speak for him specifically, but one thing that I can say is, some of our travels. I know one thing that we did in the beginning was we wanted to roll out making pizza because him and I, we love pizza. It's our favorite food. And I thought that was kind of a cool aesthetic, like a coffee shop that looks like a skateboard that sells coffee and pizza. And we tried it, and we definitely do want to come up with, an alternative and easier option because pizza is actually very complicated to make. I would say specifically the dough. And we invested, we did what his friend said. We invested in a pizza oven. We tried it for a few weeks, and we had the far and few lucky people that got to try and I really hope that they truly enjoyed it because I thought maybe it was a bit amateur, but we made blue corn dough pizza and put some green chili on it. But again, I think at the time and where we are in the very beginning of our business, I think it's a bit too much for us to bite off right now and chew. I would say in the future, definitely probably some permutation of that, like a pizza bagel or a French bread pizza, which we actually did serve for a school in believe they're based in Navajo. It's called DEAP, Deep School. They're also friends of ours too. Really great kids. And yeah, so I guess to answer your question shortly, I guess the foods just come from, our travels, what we like and what we cook for our families.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And I know you guys also host, kind of do an event with your Skoden coffee. Can you tell us more about the after-hour dance party?
Oh, yeah, I think Daniel and I had, because we were really into music, and he's a DJ, and I used to DJ way back when, and we've always liked this club culture. Daniel used to be a little raver kid as well, and I think that we had talked about doing a queer dance party. And I think I was doing a pop-up here, and he'd asked me, like, hey, how do you feel about just doing a dance party? Like, let's just try it now and see how it goes. And I wasn't present for the first one, but I know that he had a lot of fun doing it, and there were some people, of course, that came out. I know maybe not as much as the second time we did it, I think because maybe a lot more people heard about it, and we promoted it a lot more. And that was really, I would say that was so much fun. We did it right after, we did this strategically. So we did it right after our queer Native market, which was on April 1st. So queer market, and then we had a little bit of a break for a few hours, and some of the DJs that came out were our friends of ours. So they just came into town just for the event. So they just kind of hung out, stuck around. One of our friends, his name is Cam, he's a DJ. Him and his partner stayed and helped us, set up and move all the tables and get us organized for the dance party. And there was a lot of people that came. And it was like, I really didn't expect that type of turnout, but it was great. And I got a lot of really positive feedback on Instagram because we're very, very present and active on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is just at Skoden Coffee. We're also on Facebook, TikTok, and now Snapchat. But I think we're probably most active on Instagram. And yeah, a lot of people were like thankful, that we are doing dance parties. I don't know, and I can't say this for sure, but to what my understanding is that, maybe that's not really something that has really been done or brought to the res, especially our res, from the Navajo Nation. So yeah, I had so much positive feedback, and it was great. And I think we just had Daniel DJing, and our friend, his name is DJ Beso, he played, and two other DJs. And it was an amazing time, and thank you for asking about it. It was really, really great event.
Oh, absolutely. It does sound like a really great event, especially that you're bringing to the Navajo Nation, to your community there as well.
Yeah, and it was a non-alcohol event because we're a tribe reservation. So no drugs, no alcohol, just Skoden drinks, and just really great music. I think a lot of the music was like everybody played stuff from merengue, cumbia to electro music. So it was a really good mix and vibe of DJs and good selection as well.
Oh, wow. That is so awesome. And Natasha, can you let our listeners know where they can go to learn more about Skoden Coffee and how they can contact you or who they can contact if they have further questions?
Yes, you guys can go to Instagram and go to @Skoden Coffee, Skoden. I don't know if you know what Skoden means, but it's basically just a colloquial way to say let's go then. I don't know which community, which indigenous community came up with Skoden, but that's the name of our business, and that's the name of our Instagram handle on Instagram, on Snapchat, on TikTok, and our Gmail for anybody that wants to collaborate with us. I would just say I always direct them to our Gmail, which is the same, skodencoffee@gmail.com.
Fantastic. We'll definitely follow you guys so we can keep up to date on your upcoming launches and events. But I would like to thank you, Natasha, for taking time out to talk to us today to tell us more about Skoden Coffee and all of these great events that you're bringing to the community.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy, sound engineer is Javier Quiroga, and our host is Lanasha Puadi. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.